Ladies and gentlemen, and ladies, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today we're doing a good, bad, and ugly on the Lexus IS250 slash IS350 slash also Lexus ISF and all the other ones, second generation, because somebody asked if we could do a Lexus IS250 video. He didn't say what generation, so I picked the second gen because obviously the first gen, there's no such thing as the IS250. And I was assuming he didn't mean the third gen, since most of you guys seem to like the second gen. So today we're doing the second gen of the Lexus IS models. This is an interesting car, actually. I had a blast learning about it, and I kind of want one now after learning about them. So they're definitely an interesting car. But if you guys want to see another car in the next good, bad, and ugly, leave a comment down below, and I will do it, of course. Obviously, today we're not with the green screen. I can't go downstairs today. Something's going on down there. I just can't. But I hope you guys don't mind. It's a bed frame now today. Without further ado, let's go right into the video. Alrighty, pal. So the second generation of the Lexus IS line of cars, I guess you can call it, went by the chassis code XE20 and was built from the years 2005 to 2013. And through that time, it went through one very minor facelift during it. And dude, the facelift is very small. Obviously, I'll have pictures up on the screen of what the facelift looks like, but it's like pretty much not noticeable. So don't like look for the facelift model just because it's the facelift. It's not that much better. Now for the body styles, there's actually a convertible option of this generation IS available, which honestly kind of blew me away, to be honest. I don't think I'd ever seen one before. But besides that and the sedan option, which is the obvious one, there is no other choices. It doesn't come with a coupe. It doesn't come with a wagon. There's no hatchback Lexus IS. So if you want a Lexus IS, it's going to be a sedan, or I guess you can get a convertible, but those are pretty rare. Next up would be the different trim levels, and I want to say I'm sorry in advance because there's a lot of trim levels, so bear with me here. In order from worst to best, it goes the IS200, which came with a 2.2 liter inline 4 making 148 horsepower. Next is the IS220, and that came with a 2.2 liter inline 4, is the same one as before, but it made a little bit more at 174 horsepower. Next is the IS250, which came with a 2.5 liter V6, making a very nice 205 horsepower. The IS250 came in an all-wheel drive or a convertible option, while the IS200 and IS220D were only rear-wheel drive sedans. Next would be the IS300, which came with a 3-liter V6 that made 228 horsepower and did come with a convertible option, but no all-wheel drive option. Next is the most popular, the IS350. That came with a 3.5-liter V6 making 306 horsepower, and it had a convertible or all-wheel drive option for it, since obviously it is their most popular option. So they gave you all the ingredients to make your perfect IS car. And finally would be the fastest. It's the ISF, which came with a massive 5-liter V8 making a very nice 416 horsepower, and it was only available as the sedan rear-wheel drive option. So you cannot get a convertible and you cannot get an all-wheel drive one. The ISF though is such an underrated little sports car, bro. After doing all the research on this, I love the ISF. It is such a cool car. All right, it's so cool. Don't sleep on it. But anyways, most of these options were offered with an automatic transmission only, but the IS250 or below, so that is the IS250, IS220, and the IS200, were offered with a manual as well as the automatic. And like I said before, all of these cars were rear-wheel drive unless I said otherwise and said that they can be available in all-wheel drive. But most of them are rear-wheel drive, which is actually pretty cool. Not a lot of cars do that anymore. All right, now for the modifying scene for these cars, and they're kind of all over the place right now, to be honest. Obviously, the vast majority of owners of these cars build them to be these little street cars that look very good, but there is a few mad lads out there who have made them to be like drift cars or even just full-on Stancy Boys show cars before too. So there is kind of a wide plethora there. The sky's kind of the limit with these cars right now because not enough people own them or build them to give you like a certain path that you're supposed to follow. So it kind of gives you that feeling of like freedom in your build. Like for me, I know I own a 350Z, and building a 350Z, it almost feels like you have to build it a certain way because everybody else builds it that way. I personally like it best when I see the IS250s being drifted because they just look so natural doing it, and they are 110% going to be a future drift car. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. All right, you can quote me on that. But they also are very good daily drivers right now. So if you just want to keep it kind of stock and make it look pretty cool and maybe do a little couple bolt-on mods to it just to get to work and back on time, but in a fashionable manner, that's a good choice too. It's a great choice for that. It's a freaking Toyota at heart, and it's comfortable, and it's got 4 seats, and it looks pretty nice. Now it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in case you're new here, the way this works is first I go over the good, which are things that are just great about the car and you cannot deny are amazing points about the car. They're selling points pretty much. Then is the bad, which aren't actually bad. They're just kind of take it or leave it kind of scenarios. If you care about it, then it's a problem. If you don't care about it, then it's not a problem. And then we go into the ugly, which are just problems with the car that you're going to have to address and you can't deny are an issue about the car. But we're going to start with the good, of course. And first off is the luxury. Holy moly, these things are actually pretty damn comfortable, especially for their time, pal. Sure, they're not as good as like an S-Class Mercedes because they're not meant to be as good as an S-Class Mercedes, okay? They're like right in between like an S-Class and a Camry, you know what I mean? It's almost like a BMW 3 Series level of comfort in it, and so that's pretty good. Next would be the price. They are very reasonably priced. You can find one for under $5,000 if you're lucky, or if you're just not lucky, you can spend like $7,000 to find a pretty low mileage one. And keep in mind, this is a pretty new car that was built to be fun too. So for $7,000, that's a good deal, man. Like, especially in today's market too, that's a great deal. Next is the speakers are apparently very good. If you're a bass head and you like listening to music, this is for you. Next would be the keyless entry is very modern, especially for a car from 2005. And actually it works pretty good too. That's hard to see. A lot of these Japanese cars, when keyless entry first came out, messed up a lot on their keyless entry, and it's just they break all the time. Not this one though. Next would be the reliability is great. It is a Toyota at heart, and Toyota makes some of the most reliable cars ever. This one is no exception. Every freaking Toyota that's ever built has been pretty reliable, except for maybe the Celica, and even that is still kind of reliable for a sports car. The IS250, which technically is a Toyota, is just as reliable as any other Toyota out there. Next would be it gives you the option of all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. I love when cars do that because people who need all-wheel drive can go ahead and buy that option, and people who want the rear-wheel drive can go ahead and buy that option, and it's the best of both worlds. Next would be the amount of engine options that you get. It literally like fits anybody's needs. If you want a smaller, good on gas engine, go with an IS200 up to 250. If you need a bigger engine to have a little bit more fun in, get the IS300 or IS350. Next would be the cup holders are great. I love cup holders. Who doesn't love cup holders? You need cup holders. They freaking come in handy, and the freaking cup holders in the IS250 are good. And finally, no, wait, not finally, I have one more point after this one. Next would be these things are actually very safe. Kind of surprising to be honest, but they get a very good safety rating. And finally, for the good would be all the interesting little features this car has. Lexus really kind of experimented with this car, and it actually worked very well. So they have things like the side mirrors, they'll fold in on themselves, the speed indicator, they have gear symbols, they have touch screens, and a freaking knee airbag. Okay, so if you're worried about your knees getting injured in a car crash, don't be, because they got a knee airbag for that. Now we are into the bad though, and remember that this does not mean that they're actually bad points, it's just kind of up to you if it matters or not. And first is the sound. This will vary heavily depending on if you get the 250, 300, 350, or ISF obviously, but here's a clip of the IS350 since that's the most popular one, and you can decide. Next would be the rear view mirror sucks. A lot of people said the rear view mirror is very hard to see out of, which can be obviously a pretty big issue, but just use your side mirrors, man. You'll be all right. Next would be, even though it has those gear symbols, I guess the gear symbols are pretty poor, and most owners wish that they just never had them anyways, so it's kind of contradicting. Next would be the fact that there's so little manuals out there. Most people bought the freaking stupid automatics, which yes, may be better in performance, but who cares? They're not as fun, all right? So it's going to be hard to find a manual one. Next is a digital clock placement is apparently very annoying and should have just been moved from factory. A lot of people say that the digital clock just not in the right area. Next would be the AC tends to break a lot faster than a normal car's AC does. It's just something to be wary of. If you're going to pick one up, make sure the AC is all set. Next is it seems like the GPS in the car has a tons of problems. People commonly report it rerouting when it doesn't have to reroute, and sometimes it just won't work at all. In today's day and age, when everybody just uses their phones anyway, I don't really think that's that big of a deal, but if you still use a GPS in a car, this one has some problems. Next would be the freaking rear suspension has a clicking noise constantly, which to be honest confuses me. I tried looking into it to try and figure out what is making that clicking noise, but I couldn't find it. So if somebody that owns one of these cars or just knows what that noise is, can you please leave a comment down below and I'll give it a heart so that people can see it. Next would be the looks. Some people love them, some people hate them. Me personally, I think the freaking front of the car looks amazing, while the back of the car looks a little bit too weird. It looks like it's a little like too jacked up. But either way, I do think it does look pretty good. But if you don't, then fair enough. Next is the aftermarket support for the engines. It isn't that great, but the car hasn't been out too long to get its moment to shine, really. So I do think that with time it'll get better, but as of right now, there's not that many options that you have to go. And finally, for the bad, it's the community. It's a very small community. For some reason, the Lexus community doesn't seem to like care at all about that kind of stuff, and they just kind of cruise with whoever that they want to cruise with, which can be a good or bad thing depending on the type of person that you are. But yeah, if you want to like get a bunch of your homies with the IS250s and roll out together, it might not happen. It's not like as tight knit as like a Jeep community or a Honda community is. But now we are into the ugly, which are just problems with the car that you're going to have to address, and there's only two, so that's a good thing. The first one, I know it doesn't seem serious, but it's the space that the car has. A lot of the owners wish that the car came with way more space in the trunk and the back seats, and that's honestly pretty weird, considering that this car was meant to be like a fun daily driver, but it can't do the whole daily driver part if you want to carry anything. That kind of sucks, man. It's kind of like half your whole selling point on this car, Lexus, was that it was like, you could, you know, it's a sedan, like you could put your stuff in it if you need to, but I guess you can't. The trunk space isn't that great, and the back space for the people's kneecaps aren't that great either. And lastly would be the transmission. It just isn't that great. It isn't unreliable, okay? It's not like a horrible transmission, but it also isn't reliable. It's not a good transmission. If you want to build power, you'll also have to change the transmission out completely, and on top of that, the auto transmission just does not shift as fast as most cars with an automatic transmission do from the exact same time, if that made any sense. It's not as fast. The automatic transmission isn't as fast as some of the cars from the time, is pretty much what I'm saying. So obviously, you know, if you're not looking to build huge power on it, then it shouldn't matter to you. But if you're looking to build a decent amount of power on this car, the transmission is going to be an issue. So, do I, Mark Roden, think that you should buy a second-gen Lexus IS model? Well, yeah, bro. Like I said before at the start of this video, I kind of fell in love with them after making this video, and I kind of want one now, not gonna lie. They seem like the best of both worlds. I said worlds, so weird there. But they seem like the best of both worlds. They're rear-wheel drive and fun when you want it to be, but they're also comfortable and reliable when you need it to be. If you live somewhere with winter, just get the all-wheel drive one, or if you want to have fun with the car, get the rear-wheel drive one. It seems like Lexus really did think of everybody when building this car and didn't really leave anybody out. So I think for just about anybody out there looking for something, whether it is a project car or it's just a daily driver and you're in high school, I do think it's a pretty damn good choice for its price. It also doesn't seem like it has that many mechanical problems. It seems like all the problems that it has are just problems with over-engineering things that they thought they could get right but don't really matter. For example, the clock or the gear symbols. Those are both problems that don't matter at all if they break. It's just something that's nice to have. And so it's like, yeah, I think it's a good idea. They're reliable. They're pretty much a Toyota at heart, but they look better than a Toyota and they're more comfortable than a Toyota. So I would recommend, yeah, picking up a Lexus IS no matter who you are. Maybe if you're looking for like a super fast project car that you can build to make like insane power, like a drag car, then obviously this wouldn't be the best choice. But even like a street car that you want to build decent power on, I still do think that it's a good choice for that too. So good car. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment another video that you want to see down below, another car that you want to see down below, my bad. And subscribe to the channel for more. Next week, I think we're going to do the Cadillac Escalade, all generations. I'm just going to throw it all in one video. I'm sorry for my dog barking, by the way. He's a pain in my rump, you know what I'm saying? He's a pain in my gluteus maximus. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.